Yo, what's up? This is Sleet, and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be doing a match reaction to the 1-0 victory for City over Arsenal. Initial thoughts after the game, I think that was really nervy, and City were very shaky, especially near the end. I thought Arsenal were applying a lot of pressure, and I guess they didn't really have too many clear-cut chances in the second half. But because there was only a 1 goal margin, I just felt like they could always get back into it. And City weren't really creating too much either, so I could have seen it ending up as a draw with like a late goal, and I was really just focusing on that for a lot of the game. But tactically, it was also really strange. So I think today I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna go over like the lineups and the formation and such, and I'm also gonna talk about like how these teams were changing formations tactically, especially City. We were changing our formation when we were in possession and when we didn't have possession of the ball. And then afterwards, I'm going to focus on the goal and like big chances of the match and that kind of thing. Okay, starting off with City, we played like two different formations for much of the game. It was completely unexpected. I think when in my preview yesterday, I got most of the players right that I expected to start, but two of them I think were wrong, but ultimately the major difference in what I predicted was how the formation worked and the tactics employed by the players. So when City weren't in possession, they went into this sort of like 4-2-4 formation. It was kind of like a 4-4-2 at times. Obviously, Ederson started in goal. At right back, we had Cancelo, which isn't weird that he is a right back, but I was expecting him on the left. Ake was not a center back next to Diaz. He started at left back, and then our two center backs were Walker and Diaz. And I think tactically the reason for this was, Aubameyang plays off the left, and he's caused City a lot of issues in the past. And the main thing with him is his pace and his ability to run in behind. So if you were to overload that side with Walker and Cancelo, who are both very pacey, you kind of like minimize the chance of that happening where a ball over the top catches you out. And for the most part, Aubameyang didn't really do much in the game. I thought a lot of their attacking impetus came from Saka, and that was like the major tactical reason. In midfield, it was Rodri and I think Bernardo, but Bernardo was really like all over the place. I think when they had possession, it was Bernardo that dropped in, but occasionally he would like interchange with other players. Our attacking like front four was Foden out like very far left, almost like a left wing back type of thing, but he was pushed up really high. Then you had Aguero alongside Sterling, and then on the other side was Mahrez. Now the way this changed was when City did have the ball, you would keep this like front four, but Foden would drop a little more inside. Mahrez would also kind of cut in a bit, so there was like less width in that sense. Then you would have our two like fullbacks, I guess, in Ake and João Cancelo move into the midfield, and Rodri would drop back. And this was really reminiscent to me of like really old school formations. So in terms of just personnel, I didn't expect Foden to play, and it was a really weird position for him to take up. And I thought he didn't really like get into the game much because of where he was positioned, and I didn't think he felt like comfortable doing what he was doing. But ultimately, it was his shot that led to the goal for Sterling. As I was saying, I was expecting if Gundogan was fit, he would play or start yesterday in my preview, and that wasn't the case. Foden kind of coming into the team and the way that the formation was meant that we didn't play that double pivot. And I thought for sure we'd either have Fernandinho or Gundogan, but Pep really came out with something that like Arteta could not have expected because City haven't played like that. You could argue maybe we have when he first came in and he was utilizing like Kolarov as a center back in this back three sort of system, and we had like the inverted fullbacks. But I'd argue that even when we were playing that, it didn't switch as much. Because at points in this game today, you had Bernardo dropping back as if like he was one of the center backs. Rodri was doing it, which is understandable because of Rodri's like height and stature and stuff, and he's also not considered like a creative midfielder. But you even had Bernardo dropping into the box to like receive passes from Ederson, and it wasn't like a one-time thing. He did this multiple times throughout the game, and it was honestly like really. I keep saying it's just weird to see because I watch City every week, and it was so unexpected, and I don't think anybody could have predicted how that happened. And it wasn't some kind of masterclass because we struggled to create chances, and Arsenal defended really well against it for most of the game. But I think it did allow us to hold good possession. Looking at Arsenal, I think personnel-wise, I'd just be annoyed that Partey didn't start. If I was an Arsenal fan, you sign these players for big games if he's fit and he's been playing other parts of the season. It's not like what Arsenal are doing system-wise was like really like revolutionary or difficult to understand, and to put him on with like 8 minutes left kind of showed like a lack of ambition, I thought, from Arteta. Like the changes were really weird for me because he took off Pepe, who I thought was doing decent, and then he also took off Willian. So he kind of took away some of the pace from their attacking front line, and he like sacrificed it with Lacazette and such, which I get. If you need a goal, put on a striker, but if system-wise it doesn't make sense to put on that striker, there's no reason really to do that other than just for show. Also, I wasn't expecting Saka to play for them. I didn't expect this sort of in a back four to also then have like Saka. And their formation was also slightly weird in terms of how it was moving around the field. But I thought overall it did cause City problems, and Arsenal could have scored a couple of times. Anyways, like now I'm done talking about like the formations and like the weird like tactical switching. I think I'm gonna move on to the game itself and like the chances. So right at the beginning, I felt like City were on top. It wasn't really like dominant though, if that makes sense. Like I thought City were holding more of the ball. I think at one point we had like 70-something% possession, and we were struggling to create. So it wasn't really like we came out like guns firing like Liverpool does. It was more like we had the ball and we felt like comfortable, but it didn't seem like we were gonna like storm away with the victory or anything. The only chance I can remember early on is like Mahrez having a bit of a decent shot that like curled wide, and for a while both teams were just kind of going back and forth. I thought both of the teams looked poor because when you tactically switch things up, the players aren't comfortable. But it was the case for both sets of players, so each team was like struggling to like just hold on and like kind of get like a rhythm to their game. And I think City ended up getting it quicker, and we ended up scoring, I think, in like the 20 something minute. I don't know exactly what time of the match, it was around that mark, and it came from the back, and it was a really good move, and I thought it was a great goal overall despite like the kind of rebound nature of it. Ruben Diaz, who I thought was incredible today, arguably our best player in a lot of respects. He just seems so composed and so strong, and it's really nice to have a center back that when the ball comes in the air, you feel like he's going to clear it or head it away. Anyways, he has the ball, he looks forward, it's a great pass with his right foot to Mahrez on the wing, it's a great touch from Mahrez, and then it's a perfectly weighted ball to Aguero. And this just shows how much you miss a striker like Aguero, who even just his little link-up play and his acceleration can change moments of a game, like slight moments of a game, and his directness can lead to a goal that you might not have scored had he not played. Aguero takes it after this great pass from Mahrez, he runs onto it. He then could have maybe taken a shot himself, but he puts it out to Foden. Foden then cuts inside of Bellerin. I thought Bellerin could have done a little better. He was like very easily like sent. And this happened again later in the game. Sterling did the same thing with like a fake shot, and he went like sliding. Sometimes it's just better to stay on your feet, like force the attacker to actually beat you rather than react to trying to block a shot, because like you can always reach your leg like once you realize that he's actually taking the shot. But if you really like commit yourself by going to ground or by like throwing your whole body in front of something, if the player just goes the other way, you're completely taken out of the move. Foden did that. He really should have finished on his right foot. It was a good save from Leno. It just bounced out. Aguero was kind of like off of it, and at first I thought like chance gone, but Sterling came around the side and finished it. It was a good little finish, and it was a good goal overall. I thought the movement from the team was really good, and from here I thought that City, you're starting to see how this formation worked and the value to it, because we couldn't really be countered because of how like the way that we were out of possession. And I thought that showed like the first time we could create chances in this way, and I felt like we might be more clinical having Aguero, because we've missed a clinical player up top a lot recently. But soon after City get into like their normal sludge, it seems like we tire out into like 20-30 minutes into games, and it's really annoying because you can like feel it coming as a City fan, and then you start to like dread what's gonna happen. because maybe Arsenal will score just before the half. And they had a couple of chances too, had it not been for Ederson making incredible saves. I think the first one came from Tierney going on a good run. I thought overall he was poor in the game, but this was a good moment for him. He seemed like frustrated with how much he was being beaten by Mahrez, so he like decided to like bomb forward. And with Saka, because we were playing this like very liquid formation, Cancelo here was out of position and Rodri was there. And Rodri, who had received a yellow card early on, was very poor defensively because he kept being passive and not wanting to foul, so he just wouldn't tackle. And in this instance, it led to eventually a good pass from Aubameyang after Tierney winning the ball back, and then Saka being through on goal. He was a good shot, like a good a clever idea in terms of trying to finish the goal, and it just bounced off Ederson's shoulder. What I really liked about this was it showed how quick Ederson is off his line. He made himself really big, and he like forced Saka to hit it into him, and it just went over the top of the corner. Must have been annoying for Arsenal fans. The next moment came. It seemed like Aubameyang was offside. The linesman raised his flag, and it was another great save from Ederson, who came rushing out of his goal incredibly quickly, made himself big, made the save again. And then it was revealed through the VAR or the replay system or whatever that Aubameyang was onside, and if he had scored, it would have counted. So it was really important that Ederson made that save. And after that, I felt like City were starting to gain a little bit more control. They did get a corner, Arsenal, near the end of the game, or near the end of the first half, sorry, and it was headed in by Gabriel. And this is a controversial thing in terms of Walker putting his leg up high to block the shot, which he did, and he didn't get Gabriel. Personally, I don't think it was a penalty. I'm not just saying this as a City fan. It was a ball coming over the top, and I think Gabriel has time. I know it is like a high kick. If it had been a penalty, I could understand why it was given. But I think Gabriel, being the guy further back, has time to see what Walker's doing, and if you can see like the trajectory of the ball coming over Walker's shoulder and him putting his foot out, Gabriel should know better than to stick his head in there, because that is a dangerous play in itself, to like put your foot or put your head somewhere where somebody's kicking. And if you're annoyed about this as an Arsenal fan, I would just say that City should have had a penalty as well later on in the game. Same guy involved, Gabriel. He watched Bernardo run into the box to try and like get towards Leno and pressure him, and he put his elbow across, his arm across, and he forced him to the ground. Not a crazy aggressive penalty, but it is a foul, and it should have been a penalty, and it wasn't even reviewed in the same way that this Walker thing wasn't. So I think those kind of cancel each other out. The second half was really strange. City did have a good few chances. I thought Arsenal were doing well in some ways. I thought Saka started to like come out of the game a bit more. He was really, really positive in the first half, and then he wasn't as prominent in the second. And it kind of got into this like slump where both teams were not really creating good chances. Both teams were defending fairly well, getting numbers behind the ball, and not much was happening for a long time. City were giving up a lot of free kicks and getting a lot of yellow cards, which I thought maybe Arsenal could have capitalized on. You could argue maybe Rodri should have received a second yellow. I don't think he should have. I think he was a little stupid to like go in for some challenges and like to foul on certain occasions, but I don't think that those in themselves were fouls. But I thought Pep was really strange for not taking him off. You could have put Gundogan on earlier for Rodri. You could have put Fernandinho on for Rodri. And it wasn't like Rodri was having an incredible game. I thought he was doing well, but it's better not to go down to 10 men or like risk it, because he seemed to just be fouling whenever he wanted to, and he wasn't taking into consideration the fact that he had this yellow card, at least for parts of the second half. In the first half, he definitely was like staying out of challenges because he had it, and he was kind of leaving the defending to Cancelo and Walker. Another couple like interesting things, Sterling had like a one-on-one after a good, like I think it was a goal kick maybe, or just like a long pass from Ederson. He was through on goal, he took way too long, lost the chance. He's done this multiple times. He should have just shot it. I think when he had that like little break, he should have just hit it. Aguero came off after about an hour. You could argue that he should have been yellow carded for doing like, he like weirdly like grabbed the female lineswoman. I guess it's implied that she's a female from lineswoman, but whatever. But after like disagreeing with the call she made, he was trying to like talk to her, and in fairness to Aguero, I think that the referees should always explain themselves to players because oftentimes they're wrong. Like we see it every single week, they're wrong. So it's valuable for a player to be able to protest their case and talk about the rules with the referee and like see situations through their eyes. So if he disagrees with something that she's done, I think it was something about like whether the ball had gone out or who had gone out on or whatever. I know she's trying to get on with the game, but the fact that the throw-in hasn't been taken yet means that she can take a second to talk to him, and it is somewhat rude to just ignore the player trying to talk to you. So Guerrero was also in the wrong though. Like you shouldn't grab somebody like that, and a lot of people online were like saying maybe that will be a suspension of some sort, but I don't think so. Like it wasn't that serious. She didn't seem to mind too much. It didn't seem like a big deal. I think it looked worse on camera than it probably was in real life, if that makes sense. Like it was just like a touch of the like shoulder, like back of neck, but it looked kind of from the camera angle as if he had like grabbed the back of her neck, which is a really weird thing to do. And eventually City just won the game. It kind of like teetered out. Arsenal didn't really like throw everything they had trying to get a goal near the end. I think they exhausted a lot of energy, both teams, and this kind of allowed for like a slow end to the game. Both teams were tired, they weren't running as much, and there weren't as many chances and such. I thought City could have scored a couple near the end on the break. Just bad decisions from some players or bad like shot chances. Mars in particular at one point just like hit it from outside the box for no reason, like way into the stands. Odin as well had like a pass inside, I think, at one point to somebody, and he like decided to take on a shot. But overall, it was just really good. I think my main positive was just how good Ruben Diaz looked, how commanding, and how he was able to organize the back line, because the back line was changing constantly, and we didn't concede. I know we conceded a couple of chances, and we probably should have conceded a goal at some point, but I think having somebody like that can like change the game in terms of chances that other defenders might give up, goals that might be scored by the other team aren't, because of just how good he was positionally. And when Laporte's not injured anymore, I'm looking forward to him coming back in the team alongside Diaz. I thought Ake did well, but he wasn't really the center back. I thought Walker did well, but I don't know if you can always count on that against other teams with like different sort of play styles. I don't know if it'll work as well. Today was almost like a possession drill. It's like we had four defenders, if that makes sense. We had like a zonal four that stayed back, and then in an attacking sense, everybody was just playing everywhere. It was as if it was like a possession drill. Everybody just go everywhere in the zone. Aguero was dropping back into midfield. Bernardo was dropping back into defense. Mahrez was like switching sides a couple of times. Sterling as well was like all over the place, dropping next to Rodri in the midfield. And I'll be interested to see if City continue with this tactic. I thought it worked well in terms of stopping the counterattack, but I thought it limited us a little bit creatively. But we did have chances, and if other teams don't sit back as defensive as Arsenal did today with like two banks of four, I think there'll be a different result maybe, and City can maybe open teams up more playing this sort of style, because it is really hard to defend because it's so fluid. Quickly before I wrap up the video and do my outro and whatever, I just want to say I hope Van Dijk is like okay. There was a lot of news that he did his ACL and he might be out for like 6 to 8 months is like what the reports are saying right now. And I know I'm a City fan, and there's undeniably some sort of positive element to when Liverpool have something that goes bad for them, it's a good thing for City because we're their competitors. But just in general, as like a person and like a fan of the sport, I always want to see the best players playing. It feels better to win against the best teams, playing their best formations. The competition is better in general. I hope he's okay. I hope it's not as serious. I hope like maybe the initial reports are wrong and the scan comes back a little more positive. But if not, I hope he just gets better, and I hope to see him back again soon for Liverpool. Another thing, just like Zabaleta retired, I absolutely love Pablo Zabaleta. Recently, when he came on against City for West Ham, I literally was like in my college dorm, and I clapped for this dude. Like, I absolutely love this man, and I hope he enjoys retirement. I hope he comes back to City, maybe as like a coach or something. He's just like an awesome dude and a true City legend. Like, absolutely love that guy. I think every City fan loves him. Anyways, it's gotten pretty dark. It's not even that late, but it is dark now. If you watched all the way through, I really appreciate it. Leave a like. Comment if you think that maybe Arsenal were hard done by. I know a couple of Arsenal fans online are annoyed with the referees, but I think overall the decisions were okay. City did receive a lot of yellows. They were punished for things. And Arsenal, yeah, you could have a penalty, but so could City, and like a lot of people aren't even mentioning that. And overall, like they didn't deserve to win. City were the better team for most of the game, even though we weren't creating too many chances. We did have more chances. We had more possession. We just were better than them. If you want to see more soccer or football related content, please subscribe. I make these videos whenever I can, and I mostly focus on Manchester City, but I do like to talk about other teams. And I actually have a video coming out tomorrow about Arsenal generally, and why fans should be excited for the future of their club. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. This has been Sleet, and I'll see you later.